Hello friends and welcome to the Rayo Moon Oracle. I'm Rayo and today we are continuing our Tarot Discovery series with card number 6, the Lover's card. So chugging right along, we are following our Fool through their journey. So they have finished their formal, more higher education with the Hierophant card, and now they're moving into life and really going on their journey and making their own decision process, right? So they've left the mother and father, they left their higher education, and now this is kind of that becoming an adult, making your own decisions, figuring out what's going on in your life for yourself. So as per usual, we're going to go over our keywords. I've got 4 cards for us today from various tarot decks. I've got a surprise one that we haven't seen yet, a new tarot deck in my collection. We'll do a walkthrough of that later on in the month. So I'm super excited to share that one with you today, and let's get started. So keywords for the Lovers cards: union, connection, balance, harmony, friendship, love, of course. This one's going to be a big one when you see it come up in love readings for sure. That's the card you want to see, is the Lovers. So we also have joining, polarity, exchange, wholeness, choice. Capital C, choice. It's a big one in this card. Big keyword. Honesty, relationships, you got soulmate. I think I wrote balance twice because it's a big card for that. So, but apparently I wrote balance twice, so we'll just emphasize that one. Balance, and then partnerships. With being card number 6, it is about a card of family, nurturing, harmony, support. So symbology that you might have seen in regards to 6 would be like the Star of David, for example. It is the combination of balance and duality together. So that the 3 times 2. So the divinity is that Father, Son, Holy Ghost, for example, mind, body, spirit, with the polarity, the 2, the dichotomy. Multiply those together and you get 6. So that's why it's kind of like that card of balance, that card of harmony, for those aspects there. In terms of astrology, it's going to be the Gemini card. Gemini energy is really strong in there. You'll see it and some of the other cards with that those opposites. So the twins representative of Gemini. So Lovers, it balances out pretty well in that case. Gemini is ruled by the planet Mercury, which is also that communication piece. So that more of that connection aspect coming through. And with the Gemini, we get also that twin flames, those relationships. Let's see what else. With it also being Gemini is a air sign, and so we get air energy in this card, and it also comes through with Angel that is above the Lovers as we get into the original Rider Waite imagery here in a second. That is the Angel Raphael, which is also representative of air. There's a little bit of Libra energy in here as well, which is ruled by the planet Venus for that balance, that duality piece coming through, which is a little bit of earth energy as well. Okay. So other meanings for this card, there will be a deep emotional exchange. You find your own beliefs after that formal education process, again, making those choices, right? So it talks about being authentic and true to yourself for making those choices, listening to your heart, listening to that love, right? So it's representative of all choices in life. And making sure you're choosing love, choosing the divine, choosing spirit, the light, right? In terms of love readings, which is a common one people want to see, you get that divine love, again, those soulmates, that soulmate energy, kindred spirits maybe, so all love is not necessarily romantic love, right? We have soulmates that are platonic for us, that come in the forms of family and friends, siblings, other people in our lives, right? Not all love has to be that soulmate, romantic, sexual love. There's many kinds of soulmates we can have in our lives, and the lovers can represent all these different kinds with that kindred spirit. So again, with that Gemini twin energy and twin flame energy, we get that equal and opposite for the Lovers, and the Lovers can also represent that road less traveled by, potentially, as you're making those choices in your life. Okay, So let us go over the original Rider Waite imagery. In the original Rider Waite, we see a masculine and feminine figure standing in nature. There's a lot of energy, like biblical energy in the original Rider Waite imagery in terms of the Garden of Eden and the snake and the apple and those aspects and pieces, right? We see an angel over the lovers, specifically Archangel Raphael, looking down on them, and then the lovers looking up at the angel. So behind the female, we see the tree with the apples on it, representative of the tree of knowledge, with the snake in there, as well as that temptation, depending on your biblical knowledge, right? Different interpretations there for sure. We see the lovers don't have any clothing on, so representative of that moment before they eat from the tree of knowledge, before they are cast out of Eden for eating the apple. So this card definitely is very representative of that choice, right? So the choice that the lovers make before to eat from the tree of knowledge, before they are cast out of the garden, choosing a different life for themselves other than what they are given. So whether this is a good or a bad thing is up to interpretation, of course, but the whole process that comes from making those choices, right? The consequences for our actions, good or bad, and just that is very much why the lovers is representative of that choice. But yeah, but still representative of that choice. It actually used to be called the choice, or choice. So just it's developed over time, and interpretations and meanings can vary as culture changes and shifts. So let us now take a look at the other cards I pulled from my different tarot decks. So card I have on top right now is from the Wild Unknown. This is our geese right here. Very nice card. So I think it's interesting for the lovers in the Wild Unknown here that it doesn't have all the colors. We've definitely seen rainbows and will see rainbows pop up in the Wild Unknown a lot, but it does not have the full spectrum of colors in here. Geese are a bird species that mate for life, so also very representative of that lover's energy as well, and moving together during certain times of year. I think, when did I see them? I think it's around March. You'll start to see geese paired up. Don't quote me on that, I'm not positive, but at certain times of year, you'll have seen the geese paired up, and you'll see them flying in those twos because they have become those mated pairs at that point. And then the geese have their babies, which is super cute. We have a lot of geese around here because I live right next to a lake, so we see them pretty frequently. But we see the geese flying together, also representative of that air energy again. Birds, of course, living in the... Birds, of course, very representative of air and that element. So we see that in this card as well. That movement and choice together. With them being a pair, of course, we have that duality aspect coming back in, that equal and opposite energy for polarities, masculine, feminine, light and shadow, right? We have that kind of like sunburst energy behind them. It doesn't have all the colors, but that is representative of the sun that is in the original Rider Waite imagery as well. I didn't touch on it, but you can see it in the back behind the Archangel Raphael. There's a sun imagery there. And we see that reflected here in the Lover's card for the Wild Unknown as well. Not much more for this one. Again, the Wild Unknown gets kind of to the core aspects of the card. So beautiful card. I think it's a great symbolism, different variety than we'll see in the other cards coming up here. So next card I have is from the Tarot of Oppositions. So I'll hold it like this just to kind of see. So we have it in our positive aspect here, and then in our negative aspect or shadow aspect. So this card definitely has a lot of that original imagery, right, with the Garden of Eden, the snake and the apple, Adam and Eve imagery for sure. So in this card we see in the positive aspect, in the light aspect, we see the angel again, we see Eve, we see the snake and kind of that choice before maybe it potentially goes bad or has the negative consequences, versus when we flip it, right, and then the angel in the top changes. We see destructive scenery in the background, so we'll touch more on the negative aspect, the shadow aspect, once we get into the reversals later. But very similar imagery for the original Rider Waite in this Tarot of Oppositions. Let's see. We see the apple very clear in the center right there. The snake's head is off to the left side there and very intent. versus the tail on the opposite side right there. But yeah, not too much more to discuss on this one either. It's a very quick card to talk about because it has very similar imagery to the original Rider Waite. Okay, so the next card I have is from the Light Seers Tarot. Again, this one I like the deck a lot for the fact that it is more diverse and has more diversity in the imagery itself. So we see our lovers here, definitely a lot of symbolism. Again, it's kind of tucked in the background, right? It's those kind of white lines. So we do see the Star of David right there. I think very interesting between their foreheads, connecting their third eyes. So we definitely feel a lot of passion and a lot of like love and energy coming out of this card specifically. So this one is definitely more representative of the love and relationship aspects than maybe the original Rider Waite imagery or the Tarot of Oppositions. Definitely more focused more on that choice piece for what the card represents. This one's definitely more of the more modern, newer interpretation for love and relationships and partnerships. So we see that spiral again that I'm not sure about the name of, three-tiered spiral, so that connection to divinity again. We see a lot of kind of like orangey pink energy, so coming, orange is representative of the sacral chakra, our second chakra up. And that energy is very sexual and passionate and creative as well. It is a creation energy. So with the lovers coming together, right, we get that creation of life. Something interesting to note, so all those like kind of like white symbols are on the female of the lovers here, besides the Star of David, which is connecting them both. So we see the three spiral on her back. We see that black tattoo. We see a heart. We see a little star further down her arm. All those white symbols are on her, besides the Star of David, which is connecting the two of them. So generally, female energy, feminine energy is more connected to that psychic energy, that divinity, that divine, because feminine energy is that creation process a lot of the time through the birthing process. So that connection to the divine coming from the female, connecting to the male through that Star of David, through their third eyes. Just a very different and interesting concept there. Let's see, anything else here? I like this card a lot. There's just, while there's a lot of passion and sensuality between the two, you can feel it coming off the card. There's also a gentleness there. You see it a lot in the masculine's face here. That more gentle energy, that gentle love and kindness and humbleness coming out, and just some happiness too. Makes me feel good just seeing the connection there. But yeah, that will do it for the Light Seers Tarot. Last card, our surprise new tarot deck here, comes from the Nightmare Before Christmas Tarot. Look, Jack and Sally. That's super exciting. So in my circle of friends, for sure, in people who are very into Halloween and that kind of imagery, those more goth imagery, and Jack and Sally, very representative of loving energy, right? So we see them, this is movie-wise going to be towards the end of the movie, right, when they're finally connecting and interacting with each other. So we see our moon energy behind us and the hill and the mountain, them holding hands. It looks like Sally's holding a spider, which is interesting. I'm not quite sure what to make of that in terms of imagery. But yeah, she's holding a spider in her other hand, but Jack and Sally are holding hands here, and just them in terms of their characterizations, them as characters, definitely feeling that like lover's energy there, right? So we definitely see some of that dichotomy there for the choices they made, how they interact with people, but also how they balance each other out at the same time, right? So Sally trying to keep Jack from doing something stupid because she those visions, right? She had the vision for how things were going to go horribly wrong, because she's, as that feminine energy, more connected to that psychic energy, that intuitive energy, that divinity coming out of her. So trying to warn her masculine in this case to how to stay safe, to not make the decisions that he was going to end up making, but still being there for him regardless, right? And helping with the fallout and helping to make sure everything turned out okay in the long run. So just something interesting there, right? As I'm thinking through the movie and thinking through their connection and how that works for them as lovers and representative of this tarot energy. But just a fun card. I wasn't surprised when I got this for the first time to start looking through, and I was like, yeah, of course. They make sense for the lovers for sure. I don't know who else or how else you would represent that lover's energy in a Nightmare for Christmas tarot deck. But new one in my collection, very pretty and very sweet, of course. A lot of sweet energy there. Again, that like more gentle lover's energy coming from the two of them, from Jack and Sally. So I think it's interesting to kind of note the differences for more modern interpretations of the Lover's card. We definitely see more of that connection piece, more of that gentleness and that like divine love in more current Lovers cards versus the more original imagery, I'd say. We definitely get that choice aspect, that choice coming in from the original imagery for that Garden of Eden. So I can see how it would be representative of both still. But I think as as tarot's developed more, we are leaning more away from it being originally about choice and into more of that like divine love aspect. So maybe in the future it needs to be another card that maybe represents that choice. So we'll just see as tarot develops and changes. It's very interesting to watch that process. But that is all for our tarot cards that I pulled from our other decks. So let us now get into some other pieces. So just some common imagery. So we definitely see a lot of nature imagery across all the cards, all the different tarot decks I've seen. So that is that spirituality coming in again, that divine, so Mother Earth energy, creation energy. So lots of spirit and nature, and the lovers being a part of that. Also that choice to choose love, to be a part of love, right? Hands are super important as well. We see a lot of hands connections between the different characters in terms of like the Nightmare Before Christmas tarot, right? Their hands connecting. We see the Light Seers tarot connecting through the hands as well, with holding kind of the hair and that connection through the third eye. Hands being just representative of a exchange of energy that happens between people. And a different card that I did not show today from the Gilded Tarot, there's a lot of water energy that comes through. We also see that with the geese potentially, not in the card itself, but we know obviously that geese spend some of their time in water, which is that connection to emotions, that deep emotional well, right? So let us do our reversals now. So real quick, reversals can be read in one of two ways: the too much energy of the card or not enough energy of the card. So too much lover's energy, not enough lover's energy. So I think in terms of the card being choice originally, we do not have as much like too much lover's energy. We don't have enough of that usually. It's just the consequences of making choices. So for reversals, keywords and interpretations, we get loss, we get conflict, making the wrong choice, disharmony, loss or lack of chemistry, more specifically in like a love reading, right? Too much might be temptation, tension, corruption of that connection, right? So little bits of the only kind of the only way I've kind of seen like too much lover's energy would that be those pieces, right? That corruption, for sure. Let's see, going back, so we can have missing elements for those choices. There's something missing in the choice we're making. The Lover's card can be representative of self-love in the reverse, so not having that connection through others, but having to do it ourselves. Reverse Lover's energy can be out of sync. So out of sync with your partner, out of sync with yourself. You can grow apart from your partner. The card talks about letting go, disappointment, insecurity, and more of like a relationship aspect. Reverse Lovers, for somebody that maybe is in a relationship, the partner can be emotionally unavailable. There can be inner conflict, detachment, one-sidedness, trust issues, and a coldness there. So in the reversals, we definitely see that difference in the old interpretations of what the lovers represented when it was choice more so, versus I think more like the modern interpretation of it being more relationships and partnerships and connection, right? So with that like out of sync energy and with self or maybe a partner versus like, hey, making this choice, those consequences of those choices, lack of choice. So I can see how they tie in together, but there feels like a little bit more of a disconnect there when I'm talking about the reversals versus when I talk about it in the upright capacity and the positive aspect. But that is all I have for us today. So please leave a like on this video if it's been helpful to you. I know these videos have helped me out a lot as I've been learning more about the tarot and getting really in depth on everything. Feel free to leave a comment down below. I'd be happy to respond to it. And please subscribe to this channel. That helped me out a lot. So I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their day, and I'll see you in another video. Bye.